Welcome everybody on the chats, and I welcome our speaker for today. He is Manasi, but you're supposed to call him Nasko Panov from Sofia, Bulgaria. And randomly, I think I stumbled upon your name and your coffee blog. And as a scientist, my background is science, and I was already sold, and I wanted to know exactly what you were doing and what you were offering. Then I found out about your Patreon page, and I absolutely wanted to support you. Of course, we're going to talk about it today, and I think you have a lot of things to share to the community, and because you're pretty lucky to have a lot of instruments on hand, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your coffee history and see how the community can engage with you directly, because I think that's the point. So thank you very much for being here. I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, for me it's also a pleasure to participate in this project, in your project, and I really want to contribute as much as I can for this project, just to share my experience, and also to share and to connect with all the people that would like to know more about coffee and coffee science, especially.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I think there's really it's not a trend, but let's say we more and more we understand that coffee is not difficult, but it's complex. We understand that there are many parameters at every single point in the coffee production, preparation, and service, and it's great to have some people like you who want to understand exactly what's going on at some of these key points within the chain. So what's your daily job? Because you're not a barista, you're not a roaster, so what do you do for a living?
Yeah, for a living I'm doing my entire position is a service engineer and application specialist. So I started this around 11 years ago. At that time I was doing my bachelor degree in the university, doing organic chemistry, and I moved out from home, and I needed money for renting apartment and for taxes, and the money that I earned in the university was not enough. So a friend called me and told me that there is a position for a service engineer in a company called Agilent, this big company, part of Hewlett-Packard company. Okay. And soon after I applied for the position. Even though at the beginning I did not like the service engineer, I thought it was boring, and I really wanted to participate more in a scientific job or something, doing science, but I needed the money, and the money was good. So I applied for the position, they took me, and together with my first job as a service engineer, I also finished my master degree in organic synthesis and organic chemistry. So innovative methods of organic synthesis, I think it's the full name.
How can you explain in an easy way what is organic chemistry?
Yeah, organic chemistry is, there's two parts of chemistry: inorganic chemistry and organic chemistry. Organic chemistry is looking of all compounds that are containing carbon, and this is all that living matter is contained of, like we, but also every single cell is the structure of every single cell. The molecule is from the organic compounds containing carbon. So this is the division of chemistry. And I was doing synthesis, more particular. I was doing synthesis of metallium organic compounds. Really complex, but yeah,
specific.
Really toxic, to be more particular. So toxic that even one smell of it and you're already dead.
Okay. So, okay. So you're already used to wearing masks, I suppose.
We were using special boxes that are filled with argon as an inert gas in order to protect us from the chemical reactions.
Wow.
So
Okay.
everything is closed behind a special box.
Okay. So service engineering was a safer job. Can you explain what a service engineer is?
Yeah, service engineer, mainly supporting or repairing analytical instruments, analytical and measurement instruments. These are a lot of different instruments used in the laboratories all around the world in every different field, like petrochemical, pharmaceutical, food and fragrances, beverages, but also quality control of almost everything that is produced, like plastic or I don't know, bottles, glass, and uh, everything that the world is producing.
Mm.
So my job is to service, warranty, non-warranty service, installation of those instruments. But when I got more and more experience with time, I also and more involved into customer trainings and application. So this means that I'm responsible for method development. When I'm installing an instrument, I'm training the customer how to use it, how to use the software supplied with the instrument. But also I have to explain how they can use it for their analysis. Let's say a pharmaceutical company is analyzing a lot of medicines, and I'm developing the method in order that this instrument is analyzing the particular medication or things like that.
Mm.
So yeah, for 4 years I was doing service engineering this company Agilent, but after that I moved to a competitor, a company called Shimadzu.
Mhm.
Another friend of mine was working there, a colleague from the university. He asked me to join Shimadzu, and shortly after I joined Shimadzu with another service engineer as well. First, because Shimadzu at that time was a very small company in Bulgaria, particular, so we tried to develop it. And also, Shimadzu has a lot of traditions. This company was founded more than 140 years ago. So when Shimadzu was started as a company in Bulgaria, we were under Ottoman influence. So we were not independent at that time, and in Japan they were doing science and producing analytical and measurement instruments. Of course, at that time, very simple ones, but let's say the first X-ray instrument in Japan was created by Shimadzu.
Okay, so quite technological already.
Yeah, Shimadzu is a huge company nowadays, also responsible producing medical instruments for hospitals, like NMR or scanners, stuff like that, but also producing parts for airplanes.
Okay.
So one of the biggest producer of particular motors that are moving all the moving parts from the wings are produced by Shimadzu.
All right, quite diverse. Yeah. So, and what kind of instruments do you work with your customers?
Yeah, because Bulgaria is a small country, so you have to be more versatile. We could not afford to have a specific group supporting a different instrument group. So I'm responsible for all that is in the portfolio of Shimadzu instrument. This means chromatography, mass selective detectors or mass spectrometry, but also atomic absorption, so spectroscopy in particular. But also a lot of different instruments, most of them really expensive and really complicated, really complex.
When we say expensive, it's like really expensive, right?
Yes, really expensive. Some of them could reach something like 600,000, 700,000 euro. So you have to be really prepared and really sure what you are doing, because every mistake is really expensive. Sometimes even the small mistake could lead to a changing part that costs 20,000 euro.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you were talking about like many 3 instruments. Maybe can you talk about very simply, like I don't know if it's easy to it's easy to say, okay, explain very simply, but do you like chromatography or mass spectrometry or atomic absorption, more or less what it is?
In university, we are studying, let's say, 6 months for one method.
Yeah, exactly.
But I will try to be really short. For chromatography, it's maybe the most versatile and widely used technique. So the chromatography, there is 2 kinds: liquid chromatography and gas chromatography. The main purpose is dividing or separating different organic molecules. After the separation, you can analyze every single molecule. This is the perfect situation. So when we are talking about coffee consists maybe 600, 700 different organic compounds. So one chromatograph is responsible or could separate most of them in order to be analyzed with different detector. And every single detector is giving a different information about the molecules. More of them are more conventional, but some of them, like the mass spectrometry, this is one of the high-end instruments nowadays. They could give you the information about the structure of the molecule. Knowing the structure, you can have a lot of information on what could this molecule do.
Like the function of it, yeah.
Function of it, yes. And this is the most widespread technique, the chromatography. But also, like ICP, it's used for analysis of heavy metals or elements in different samples, like food or water or medicine, everything.
Maybe good to see whether there is a contamination or something.
Yes,
like this.
most of the instruments are used by the control laboratories that are controlling the quality of food, drugs, water, air, soil, and also products like the plastic. How can we know that this plastic is safe for kids to play with? So we are analyzing the elements, but also analyzing, let's say, the volatile organic compounds that could be harmful to kids, let's say.
Right. No PCB.
Yeah, no PCB.
And that's interesting because you mentioned volatile, because you have what's in a solid component of what you analyze, but there's also all the volatiles, and I suppose that has that's going to be important as well for you when you analyze coffee.
Yes, volatiles. There is one technique that is using for volatiles analysis. It's called a headspace. It's a way to extract only the volatiles organic compounds and to analyze them after that with gas chromatography, mainly.
Yeah, very cool.
Really cool, really cool. I have a lot of projects with Headspace, but I need a lot of time to develop them. Sometimes one method could take you months to be developed.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we really support you. So great. I think we have a good idea of what you do. How about coffee? When did you start drinking coffee? When did you start? There was something particular about it, and what is your story about coffee?
Yeah. To be honest, I started recently. I'm not. I don't have a long story in specialty coffee. But I try to learn faster.
Yeah,
So
but you
it's
can explain also what the status is in Bulgaria, because most people probably don't know what Bulgarian people drink for coffee. Is there a lot of specialty coffee?
nowadays more and more are growing. The companies are growing, and new are coming to the market, but still the market is pretty small in Bulgaria compared with other countries. So it all started 4 years ago, or around 4.5 years ago. I was on vacation in Italy, and just I found one place. We stopped there to drink a coffee, and it was a specialty coffee. And I was really stunned by the taste and the aroma. When I come back to Bulgaria, I started looking what is a specialty coffee. So I found one place in Sofia. It's Dubov Specialty Coffee. It's a quite well-known company also worldwide, because the founder, Jordan Dubov, is certified and also participating in different associations related with specialty coffee. So I found Dubov coffee, went there. I ordered, I think, Ethiopian coffee. And yeah, it was absolutely amazing. And from that day, I started my journey in specialty coffee. I tried to find every single place in Bulgaria, in all the cities in Bulgaria. I tried to go there and try the coffee. Also, when I was traveling to different countries and cities, I always took a time to visit the most famous coffee roasteries and specialty coffee places in order to try really different things.
Yeah.
And
that's when you know when you're hooked. It's like you become a coffee tourist, and you absolutely want to try.
Yeah, and I started to talk about specialty coffee to all my friends and family, and I at that time also I did not have espresso machine. I started with an AeroPress because it's quite cheap, but I was hooked up because you can experiment a lot with an AeroPress. I think this is the most versatile instrument compared with Chemex or V60. I think in V60 and Chemex and other pour overs, you are more limited by the time for the brewing.
Yeah.
In AeroPress, you can manipulate the time really easy.
Okay, so that's the only one that you use for yourself, but also for your experiments.
Yes, I'm using also for experiments, and because I don't have expertise in other pour overs, I rely on my friends that are baristas in a specialty coffee shop, so they can prepare. Like for the project for blooming, I went to another city, Plovdiv, and in a coffee called Snack Coffee. So they helped me with the V60 samples because I rely on the consistency. I needed consistency in preparation.
And I suppose for you, the AeroPress is easier to keep that consistency if you do it yourself. Yeah.
Yes, it's easy, but at the beginning it could be really complex because everything you can change, and so you have to be very careful. You can easily do really bad extraction, I think, with AeroPress.
So it took you some time to find the right recipe or protocol.
Yeah.
So for how long have you been into coffee and making AeroPress before you started wondering about what you could do in a more scientific way?
I think I spent it around 2.5 years with AeroPress, mainly experimenting a lot with it. I also do 1 or 2 lectures in one place in Sofia, in front of a few people. And yeah, after that I had lucky, and my former boss gave me a great present. He gave me an old Bezera espresso machine, professional one,
Nice.
that was broken. And he told me, okay, you can take it. If you can repair it, it's yours. At the beginning, because it's a really ugly machine, but I checked the price in Google. It was something like 2,000 euro, even though it's quite old. And I was, wow, this is a great chance for me. So I spent a lot of time repairing it, because it was really, really dirty, and a lot of problems with it. Yeah, I repair it, and from that time, maybe 1.5 years ago, or maybe already 2, I'm doing mainly espresso.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, but that's lucky for you because you're a technician. So I suppose it was a challenge to understand all the different bits and how the machine works. But you managed to do it. That's quite amazing.
Yeah.
And was it difficult to find the different parts, for example?
Not so difficult, but there was a process of learning how the espresso machine is working. So I had to learn at the beginning how everything is working, or how everything is connected. So I disassembled everything, made some improvements on this espresso machine. So I changed the thermostat, I changed the pressure stat, changed some valves because they were blocked. I changed the pump as well, but also isolated the boiler so I can control more easily the temperature and stuff. So I did some improvements on this espresso. So I needed at least a month just to learn how everything is working together, because till that time I were never ever opened an espresso machine.
Yeah, of course. Who would? Yeah. Okay. And so, when was the first time, or how did you have the idea to use the instruments that you work every day for coffee? How did that happen?
First, well, the coffee extraction is a pure chemical and physical process. Looking it from there, it's just chemistry and physics. So, in my point of view, for the best or for complete understanding and controlling this process, you have to have some background in science. And I saw that I have this background in science, in physics and chemistry. Um, I started reading a lot. I started watching a lot of YouTube videos and participated in a few trainings and lectures. And I understood that even the very experienced baristas and trainers that did not have any scientific background sometimes are talking nonsenses. Or they are not understanding the complete process as a chemical process or as a physical process. So I saw this as a kind of advantage for me, that I can do better than them. So this motivated me even more in this hobby of mine. So I was planning it maybe at least a year. I always started. I always wanted to start something like blog post or coffee experiments, but I could not find any free time, or this is just a excuse. I don't know. And one morning, Saturday morning, I wake up and opened my Instagram and saw an article by Barista Hustle. I read it. It was about how the CO2, or the carbon dioxide is influencing the extraction flow in an espresso machine. I read it completely 2 or 3 times, and to be honest, I did not understand the explanation or the explanation was not complete. It was not really well described, and it was not supported very good with scientific data or research. Yeah, and after that, for 2 or 3 days, I was in a constant researching of the topic, reading a lot of scientific articles, started writing my first blog post, and I did not stop until I finished it, I think 3 days later.
Okay.
I created my website.
Can you tell a little bit about your website? What's the name? How can we find it?
Yeah, now the website is called npcoffeescience.com. You can find it by searching in Google or through my Instagram. Yeah.
So when was the first post? When was it?
I think February.
This year?
Yeah, this year. So from that time, from my first blog post, now I'm in a constant cycle, and the cycle is research, experiment, or first planning, research, experiment, writing.
Like a scientific method, really.
Yeah. So from that time, for 3 or 4 months already, I'm doing only this in my free time because it's really time consuming.
Yeah, it is, right? What is your family think about it?
My family,
It's a challenging question.
Yeah, to be honest, my wife is fully supporting me in everything that I do.
Great.
So she also loves coffee. I try to prepare the best coffee for her every morning.
There you go.
So I think she also has some
Benefit from it.
benefits from this. Yeah, they are supporting me, but I try to do it late on a late night when all the kids are already in bed sleeping. So yeah,
It's a little bit of organization.
Yeah, my sleep deprivation is quite.
Especially if you drink coffee, also if you do it quite late. Someone in the audience may say, "Well, you could work with decaf."
I don't like decaf, to be honest.
Okay, there's a challenge taken, I suppose. So your first post was it about responding to that article in Barista also?
Yes, my first article was a kind of response or a reply to a Barista Hustle article. To be honest, at the beginning, I was really aggressive against them. After that, in a conversation with them,
Okay.
I understood that I shouldn't do like that. I should not be so aggressive. I think it's more positive if you have a conversation or brainstorming together rather than be competitors or fighting on scientific things. So I changed a little bit
your tone.
My article. Yeah, I changed it a little bit to be more calm, or let's say, friendly.
Yeah. I see. Yeah.
And after that came the second project. Maybe you know it, of course, To Bloom or Not to Bloom. It started as a conversation with a former colleague of mine from the university. I was just wondering how I can analyze the carbon dioxide. Is there easy way for analyzing the carbon dioxide? And this idea of using the TOC, the total organic carbon, for carbon dioxide analysis popped up in my mind, and so it began just a conversation with my former colleague.
So can you explain what is TOC exactly?
Yeah, TOC is a technique or instrument that is analyzing the total organic carbon. So this means all the carbon that is bounded in organic compounds. But also because of the method that is using, you can also analyze the inorganic carbon, or this is coming from the inorganic compounds, or just free carbon like ash.
Okay.
So it's doing a lot of steps. It's quite complicated, but the short story is it's adding acid to the what you're analyzing, and this is happening in a combustion chamber, catalytic chamber with platinum under 680 degrees centigrade. So this leads to completely turning all the carbon into a carbon dioxide. So there is a detector that is analyzing the carbon dioxide. So it's a chemical reaction, and you are analyzing the product of this chemical reaction. So converting the organic and inorganic compounds to carbon dioxide and analyzing the carbon dioxide. So this instrument is giving you information about the almost everything that is extracted from the coffee, because coffee extraction is extraction with water, organic and inorganic compounds, and most of them are organic. Maybe, I'm not sure the percentage, but it should be around 99% is organic compounds, and all of them are containing carbon. So I describe it in my articles like a really pumped TDS meter, really precise and really with a lot of functions TDS meter.
Can you, I'm just curious, what kind of inorganic carbon would there be in coffee?
Inorganic carbon could be as a result of roasting some just free carbon as ash or charcoal. Not sure the word.
Yeah.
Also, there should be some carbonates, compounds or salts that are called carbonates, like potassium carbonate maybe, or not sure the exact compounds, but there are not a lot of them. So most is just organic compounds.
Okay, so you get I suppose you measure the amount of CO2 after combustion, and that gives you an idea. Is that it?
Yes, the first part of this project was to measure the carbon dioxide, the inorganic part. That is in most. This is the dissolved carbon dioxide in water, or this was the idea, the theory that if there is a lot of carbon dioxide inside of the coffee as a byproduct of roasting, the water could dissolve it as carbonic acid, and it could end up in your drink and giving acidic taste or an unpleasant taste.
Unpleasant, yeah.
But the first part of this project proved that no matter what you are doing, the CO2 in water is quite low. So the degassing process is happening no matter what you do.
Okay, just to clarify, we'll invite Nasko another time so that he can maybe explain a bit more details what his specific research and results are. So today was just really an introduction about who he is and where he came from and more or less the experiments, but we won't go into very detailed results today. But please make sure to check it out in the future. That is the ongoing project. with the Bloom project in different parts, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I think with the Bloom, to Bloom or not to Bloom, I'm almost finished, or there could be other things growing up, popping up, but not so important. I think the main things that I wanted to prove or disprove, I already did it. I disproved the first hypothesis that CO2 could end up in your drink and could influence the taste. This is completely false hypothesis. So,
but do you not experience some kind of metallic acidity when you brew an espresso with a very, very freshly roasted bean?
Did not try the espresso, so I did not try to analyze also the. Actually, I analyzed samples of espresso with the TLC analyzer, but just one or two samples, so I'm not sure I can give any final results.
That'd be interesting to know on espresso.
I think it will be almost the same because the temperature of espresso is quite high. You should use water around 93, 94 degrees centigrade, and also almost all the carbon dioxide is degassed at that temperature. It could not stay in the final beverage. But I don't have proof of that yet, maybe in the future.
I'm wondering maybe it's in the crema. Maybe it's trapped in the micro bubbles of the crema or something.
Yeah, but trapping the micro bubbles, this means that it's a pure carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide does not have any taste. In order to fill it, it has to be dissolved into the water. So there is an equation that is giving the balance between the degassed CO2 and dissolved CO2, and this dissolved CO2 turning into carbonic acid. It's a process that is constantly moving from one direction to the other direction, especially with the different temperature and pressure.
There's someone in the chat, Dayo, who is asking he said maybe it's not the CO2 that gives the taste, but other VOC, which I suppose are volatile organic compounds.
Yeah. But sure, I have ideas about the VOCs in the future. Cool. I also saw another question, is it unhealthy, those inorganic compounds? No, inorganic compounds, most of them, or the ones that are contained in the coffee, should be safe. It's just salts, because also in coffee there are some salts. Like, not sure about the complete composition of those salts, but yeah, typical salts.
But to take Sophie's question, do you personally find a change in flavor between
do you personally
that blooms a lot and another one?
I try to stay out of. I think the taste is something that everyone is experienced differently. So it could be not so informative.
Yeah, you try to be specific, scientific, and measure.
I wanted to use specific scientific things in order to prove or disprove.
Yep.
Not to be, how was the word?
Biased?
Yeah, biased, and taste is subjective. It's not. Yeah.
Cool. How about the ongoing projects and the future projects? I suppose you have ideas, and some of them you keep it for you because you need to think about them.
Yes, I have a lot of projects. Some of them I'm posting in my Patreon page, as you know. So I try to be active there and to keep inform all the patrons about my current projects. I have one project, as I told you earlier, in a private conversation that could be together with Barista Hustle.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Interesting one. I'm not sure I can tell you about it, but the way I'm working when I'm reading or watching YouTube videos or in a conversation with different baristas, I try to pick things that could be transferred or be developed into a coffee project, scientific coffee project. So some of them are not very easy to be fulfilled. So I have one project about the astringency using the liquid chromatograph mass spectrometry. The idea is to find the compounds that are responsible for astringency. And when I found, if I found them, I could measure when they are ending up in your coffee, like high temperature or longer extraction or a particular, I don't know, sorts of coffee or particular type of roasting. And in order to decrease the amount of astringency or to control the astringency in coffee.
Do we know the? Sorry.
This is very big project I'm currently working on, but as I told you, it could took me months to complete. To be honest, this is, I think, the worst part of my hobby, of my project, is they're really long. I try to stay away from just picking some, I don't know, idea and to write a quick article for it. Okay, let's say I'll write about the difference between the Arabica and the Robusta. Yeah, but there's 100 articles about this. I try to be a little bit innovative or to do things differently, scientifically. And yeah, this is quite heavy.
It takes time, and science. Well, I have a past in research, and I saw a lot of colleagues that because research is the way it is, your career advances much faster if you publish, if you produce a lot of articles. But that doesn't mean they are of good quality. And I saw a lot of my colleagues who try to publish a lot of articles, and sometimes it's a shame because they could be better articles if they took more time. And I've always been a defender of slow science, and I think your approach, even though it's tough and it takes a long time, it's a heavy load. It's the good approach. Slow science is good.
Yeah, I just wanted to do something differently, something new, not just a regular blog post about, okay, now we'll explain what is a V60 is.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of information about that.
And I see a lot of opportunities as well in the questions or the topics that, coffee people in general or baristas, they have an easy answer, something that we all hear or read, always the same answer, but you can question them because there's been never a scientific proof about them. So I think these are good questions to sort of tackle.
Yes. I really wanted to do something differently and to prove or disprove things that are for years in this field, like the blooming, like the removing of CO2. The blooming is not removing the CO2, or this is what I found during my research and experiment. Blooming have an effect on the coffee extraction, okay, but blooming does not influence the removal of CO2, the carbon dioxide. So, but this was a hypothesis or a theory in coffee fields for years.
So what is the bloom then? What is the bubbles made of?
The bubbles are made of CO2. This is to be more particular. The bubbles are CO2. But if you bloom your coffee or you do not bloom your coffee with V60, with AeroPress, with inverted AeroPress, the result of the concentration of carbon dioxide in the final beverage is absolutely the same for all the methods. This means that blooming or not, CO2 will go out of the coffee. So the bubbles are CO2, but the blooming process, the pouring a little amount of water at the beginning, does not influence the end concentration of carbon dioxide in the final beverage.
Within the beverage.
Yeah, within the beverage. So if you just prepare a V60 without blooming, you will end up with absolutely the same amount of carbon dioxide in the final beverage. As I told, keep in mind that during my research and experiment, I found that the blooming is influencing the extraction of the organic compounds. You read it as a patron. But about the CO2 removal, it's just
no effect. How about the astringency? Do we know the kind of compounds that create astringency in the cup?
I'm reading a lot of literature in this topic. I have a few compounds pointed, but it's really difficult sometimes to analyze them. As I told you, there's a lot of compounds in coffee, organic compounds, and you have to pick, let's say, 5 compounds from 600 compounds, and you should have a way to analyze, to detect it repeatably and without any variation, or you have to be sure that this is the compound you are looking for. So you have to prepare different types of extraction of coffee. So I'm doing or trying different extraction, but also I'm trying different methods with liquid chromatograph mass spectrometry instruments in order to find those compounds. So first I create a list of those compounds, like a research, and after that I try to find it one by one, which is quite hard sometimes.
So I've got a few comments from the audience. Dayan is asking if you have among your future ideas, do you have something in particular that is very exciting to you and that you're very looking forward to tackle and to share?
I think all projects that I'm working, I'm really excited about. It's like, this is a lot of thinking, a lot of time spent, so a lot of efforts. So the end product is always satisfying. So all my projects, I'm really, really
excited about. Sophie is asking how you find your inspiration, like about what you're going to decide is a good idea to dig in, and how do you narrow it down to okay, I'm going to work on this, and this is how I'm going to do it. What is the process?
It's I don't know. It's just a spontaneous process. As I told you, just talking with others or watching YouTube videos, somebody's mentioning something, and I was, I have an idea. I could try this. After that, I started research. Okay, nothing could come from this idea. Let's move to the next thing. Watching other videos. There's another thing that I could try. And it's the process that is more or less spontaneous.
Trial and error as well.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering myself, like practically, how do you do an experiment? Do you brew your coffee directly in front of the instrument, and I suppose you let it cool down a bit to ambient temperature, or do you prepare the samples at home and then you go to the instruments? Are they stable in that sense?
Sure, especially for the research to bloom or not to bloom. I also checked if the coffee is stable, if there is a possibility that I can prepare the coffee one day early, store it in a fridge, and analyze them later. I also prepared coffee just before the analysis, so I compare all the results. So this is a very long process, but I did not mention it into my articles because this is just a scientific things that to minimize the error and to be more repeatable and consistent with the result. You have to check most of the variables, like the tap water. Could the tap water influence the end extraction? So I checked also the different tap water or filter water or boiled water, all kind of things in order to see that there is no influence. So in most of the cases, I prepare the coffee before because, as I told you, I'm relying to use instruments that are in most of the cases at the customer side.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of friends and colleagues in the laboratories. I'm working this for 11 years already. So the lab managers are allowing me to use their instruments. I don't have those instruments at home because they're really expensive. So I rely on a goodwill from the customer. So I'm trying to plan everything in advance to prepare the samples and to be able to go to the customer and analyze them as quick as possible because this is their property and I don't want to took it for a long time.
Yeah.
But also I have the opportunity as a part of this company Shimadzu that we are also sometimes we have demo instruments in our office, like the TLC analyzer was such case. We have this instrument in our office for a demonstration for the customer. So I use the one in the office and I could use it every day for how long I wanted to.
Nice. Very nice. Wondering as well, like what water do you use? Which one? Do you have like a particular one and you always keep the same water?
No. To be honest, no.
Okay. So someone, I'm trying to see whether there is a question, and then we can talk maybe about your Patreon page because it's important too. And that's interesting because it's linked as well to what you were saying with Patreon. But Adrien is asking whether you could consider just doing things as you are doing right now, or if you could consider working with a coffee company and do coffee research with them. Like, would you actually switch career and become like a full-time coffee scientist?
For now, no. First, because I really love my job as a service engineer and application. Also, if I stop being a service engineer, not sure that the laboratories that are now allowing me to use the instruments will allow me in the future. Because they are allow me to do it because I'm also doing a favor for them. Like when I'm at the customer side, without paying, I'm trying to be more cooperative with the customer to help them with everything they need. Yeah. So in return, they are giving me this favor to use the instrument. So,
but what if?
In the other, of course, the money.
Of course, yeah. Yeah. But what if a coffee company which has the funds and maybe like we're just dreaming here, but if a coffee company would actually buy all these instruments and comes to you and say, come do this at home with us?
Maybe yes, but this should be really expensive for them. I'm not sure that they will do this investment.
I did visit a few industrial roasters that had some.
Yeah, I think that the biggest like Nescafe or others have the laboratories for quality control, but I think they're not doing research, or they're not doing research.
Yeah, exactly.
With quality control.
Only you being independent and having this amazing opportunity to use these instruments with your colleagues and friends, it's like a quite unique opportunity here. Maybe we can talk about your Patreon page, like because you were doing first, you had your coffee blog, and then was it enough for you? Was it not enough? Can you explain?
First, I have the Instagram page. It started, I think, last year around September or October, quite late compared with the younger generation. After that, I started the web page, the blog post, and recently I started the Patreon. There are several reasons why I started the Patreon. First, because, as I told you, I'm fully worked as a service engineer. I don't have a lot of time doing those experiments. Most of them I'm doing them in my free time, and it's really time consuming, as you already know, sometimes weeks or months for one experiment. Also, these instruments are using really expensive consumables. Every single sample you have to provide consumables for the instrument. It's not like they're working, you put the coffee and it's analyzing the coffee. No, you have to prepare everything in the laboratory. I'm talking just a glassware or solvents or different chemicals, but also some instruments are using really particular consumables that are quite expensive. And for now, I'm paying for by myself, or rely again on the laboratories to borrow me some consumables.
Okay.
But this is, it's not good that every time I have to ask the lab manager, okay, can you provide me 100 pieces of this? Because they're also paying for those consumables. So I really wanted to be more independent in that. And the second reason is, or third or fourth reason is that this is, at the end of the day, this is a hard intellectual work. So I'm providing in my Patreon also the know-how to the readers, to the patrons. So I try to give them also things that they could use in their practices, everyday practice, or in their roasteries, or in their coffee shop. So the know-how is also really, really expensive in nowadays. Or
it's valuable for sure.
Valuable, yes, valuable, exactly. So this is why I started my Patreon. So I hope it could grow, and I hope I can provide more and more interesting research.
And what has been your experience so far with your? Maybe can you just for 1 minute explain what Patreon is for people who don't necessarily know?
Yeah, Patreon is just a website or a platform where you can show your project, your idea to represent yourself. And Patreons or people could fund you with a small amount per month, something like €2 or €5 or €3. And in return, you are providing them with posts, or you can give some gifts, or you can make some goals. If you reach a particular amount of money per month, you can provide the patrons with this.
It's a little bit like, it's a little bit like crowdfunding, but more like a membership. It's not just a one-time project, but
like my project for the aroma kit. One of the goals I have is to create an aroma kit that is more affordable for baristas or for coffee lovers. The aroma kits I found now, they are quite expensive, and I think I can create something similar, but a little bit less expensive. And the patrons should have the privilege to buy it or order it in a much lower price, based on the patronage, based on the the funds they gave me through the year or through the months.
I totally find it amazing, and I think some of the people in the chat also reacted to it. I think it would be great news for a lot of people who are looking at these kits and they can't afford it. But if you can provide something like this, it would be amazing for sure. So far, what is your experience with the existing Patreons? How do you communicate with them, and what kind of feedback did you have so far?
For now, the feedback is only positive. I try to be really personal with all the patrons. I try to chat with them. Of course, answer some questions if they are asking. Some of them are really worried to ask questions. I don't know why, but in most of the cases they are starting. Could I ask a question? I'm not sure that my patronage will allow me to ask questions. Yes, of course. This is the Patreon, to share and to be personal with the creator, and also me as a creator to be personal, or to have this feedback from all the patrons, to give them more, to explain them more, because some of them does not have the scientific background, and reading my articles, sometimes they are not understanding 100% what I have or what I want to say. And I try to explain them in a one-on-one conversation or a chat or something.
Yeah, it's where we discussed a little bit when we first talked about this particular topic, because it's always the sort of distance that there is between what we call vulgarly lay people and the scientific community. It's we have a particular language and vocabulary, and we think in a scientific way, but not everybody is the same. Of course, it's a diversity of things, and sometimes between diverse people we have a little bit of a communication breakdown, or at least it's not always easy. So how do you how do you manage this, and how do you communicate in a way that people can actually understand you?
It's really sometimes it's really hard because in my mind everything is clear. When I do an experiment and I come to a conclusion, in my mind everything is clear. But in other points of view, it could be complicated. So sometimes they are asking me questions or talking about things I've never written or never said, but this is the way they understood it. So my part is to explain them additionally, okay, this is not exactly what I wanted to say. And I try to provide a different explanation so everything is clear.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to, and I think other people too, our listeners and viewers, looking forward to the collaboration with Barista also, because they are maybe more into a language that is a really a common language with baristas and roasters and coffee people in general. So I'm very much looking forward to how you guys are going to collaborate, and what the result of it is going to be.
Yeah, I hope that the collaboration will be, I don't know, good. As I told you at the beginning, when I contact them and also they contact me, they told me, yeah, we know you. You're the one that called us in the first article. I was, okay. I was a little bit rude or aggressive, let's say, this in the past, but I think I can give them a lot of information. Also, I can provide them with really interesting experiments, like the one that I told you, related with the last blog post of Barista Hustle about the different materials used in the espresso machine, the boilers, like stainless steel or brass or copper. So I got an idea we can develop it. Another article. I wrote them, and there was, yeah, this sounds interesting. Nobody checked it till now. Let's do it. Yesterday, I finished analyzing. Soon, I'll post a brief explanation in my Patreon about this project with really nice pictures, because I'm using instrument called ICP. It's inductive coupled plasma. It's an instrument that is creating plasma. So I made a great picture of this plasma.
It's amazing.
Yeah. For me, this is quite interesting. Yeah. Just to see the complexity of the old analytical instruments, just to see the things that the humankind created. It's amazing. So I'm not sure that all could be so hooked up about those pictures, but for me, it's quite really nice. Yeah, there's a plasma.
You'll be surprised. I think a lot of people will find it very cool anyway. So with Barista also, at least you have a big viewer opportunity because they're so largely present.
Yeah,
for sure. I think we're a little bit over an hour. So it's been quite it's been so much, and we're very much looking forward to hearing more about your work and your results and your next experiments. I'm leaving the opportunity for a few questions from the audience if they wanted to. But I was very proud to have you again, and to be able to do this video and this conversation with you. And I think the YouTube video will be online very soon, and podcasts, because our chatting was also quite interesting, and it can be valuable as a podcast. So we'll be a podcast on the podcast as well. Yeah, very much looking forward to the future with you, your work.
Yeah, me too. I really enjoyed this conversation, and looking forward to participate again. Maybe on another topic, we can try, I don't know, for some kind of explanation of some of the results, or maybe I can present a particular future experiment that I'm planning more in details here. It would be great.
So Emmanuel is actually works in decaf, and he reacted to your comment about decaf. So I think he wants to take the challenge and provide you with good decaf.
Yes, I'm really looking forward. I know how the process of decaf, or I'm quite familiar with the process how the decaf is produced. So,
in his case, it's through water. I won't say brand, but it's a water decaffeination. So you guys can be put in touch together.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. I tried a lot of decaf, mainly because of my wife when she was pregnant, but never found a good one.
There you go. Challenge. All right. Yeah. Thank you again. Thank you very much, Nasko. And we talk soon. Man, bye everybody. Thank you again for being here too.
Thank you again.
Ciao, ciao.